The story of creation, the answer to the question, who am I? Where have I come from? It starts from Mirza Ghalib's share or couple of lines, a couplet. ना था कुछ तो खुदा था, कुछ न होता तो खुदा होता. ना था कुछ तो खुदा था. If there was nothing, then there would have been God. If there was nothing, then there would have been God. So the science starts from the Big Bang Theory. According to science, astronomy, physics, mathematics, according to Carl Sagan and other scientists of the yore, who have explained it very beautifully, that there was nothing, absolutely nothing. No darkness, no light, not even space. Absolutely nothing existed, and there was nothing to observe, and no one to observe if there was anything observable. And out of the blue, there was a Big Bang. Sound so loud, energy so loud, that created all the matter in the last 13 plus billion years to this date. And the universe continues to expand because of that Big Bang or sound. From the Big Bang, in brief, came the clouds. Obviously, before the clouds came, there was a sense of space created. The Big Bang created a sense of space, the first element. Then came the clouds, the second element, the air element. The clouds became heated, the fire element was created, followed by the water element. We know what happens when there is heat. The water evaporates and condensates and it precipitates. That's the water element. The first star was created from gravity. Seems like gravity also must have been created right there, or just came into being because of the laws of nature. The stars exploded under their own pressure and gravity into more stardust, more clouds, giving birth to more stars, and more clouds were created, and eventually galaxies were formed, and here we are. Everything in this known universe created from the 5 elements, and the 5 elements came from the Big Bang, and the Big Bang came from, according to Mirza Ghalib, Na tha kuch to khuda tha. When there was nothing, there was God. And if nothing ever existed, let's imagine nothing ever existed. Time didn't exist. Space did not exist. We did not exist. The existence did not exist. Then that creator would have existed. It's just that nobody would have been there to know that creator. Everything in this known universe is made up of the five elements, and the five elements are the most basic, most fundamental ingredients of this known universe. And I'm also made up of the five elements. Taking it from the Vedas, the source energy existed before the creation, before even space existed. So the sound of Big Bang can be compared to the sound of Om. Om. It's not a Hindu thing. So Om came from God, and five elements were created from Om, and I am made up of five elements. So if A is equal to B is equal to C, and C is equal to D, then D must be equal to A. I am made up of five elements. Five elements came from Om. Om came from God. Hence, I came from God. Where have I come from? I've come from the source energy. What am I made up of? I'm made up of the five elements. And what are the five elements? The five elements that came from Om, that came from the source energy, are in the purest form God. God in existence. God in creation, in this most basic, fundamental, simplest forms, five elements. So when I'm drinking water, I'm literally drinking God. I'm literally having this communion with God. When I'm breathing this air, I'm literally having this exchange with God. So our every single breath, living with consciousness, living with awareness, can be and is meditation. We don't need a technique, we just need to be aware of it and be present to it and be grateful and enjoy it. It's actually, it's like, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. But I'm having this communion with divinity, this intimacy with divinity in every single moment. I would not exist if the five elements did not exist. The universe would not exist. So the five elements are God for me. And the Aborigine tribes from New Zealand to Native American Indians to the Mayan culture to the African tribes and ancient Indian civilizations and the Asian civilizations, in one form or the other, they prayed to the fire principle or the fire god and the air god and the water god and the earth god and the sun god and the moon god. They understood the intimate nature of divinity that is prevalent everywhere. Carl Sagan said that we're all made up of star stuff, that the atoms that my body is made up of, the atoms that this shirt is made up of, the atom that this electronic device is made of, that we are exchanging this knowledge, that wisdom, this information, this presence through, is also made up of atoms that came from billions of years ago, ancient. We are ancient beings. We're made up of star stuff. There's no difference between the stuff that I'm made up of and the stuff that the stars are made up of. So how do you commune and connect with that source energy then? We call it meditation. Who am I? I am the source energy. Where have I come from? I've come from the source energy. What am I made up of? I'm made up of the 5 elements that came from the source energy. Then I'm the source energy. Call it God. Call it source energy. Call it whatever you resonate with. Or don't call it anything. I cannot exist if I cannot breathe. So this oxygen, this air that exists, I owe it to. I owe my life to it. So hence the air element is God for me. If the air element doesn't exist, I don't exist. I no longer would exist. I cannot survive for longer than a few minutes if I cannot breathe. So air element is automatically God, even from that simple practical purposes. Same thing with water. Without water, a person can survive for up to 3 weeks. Up to 3 weeks, and that's it. Same thing with food, and so forth. The right temperature that we have on this planet Earth, just the right amount of distance we have, far enough from the sun that we won't get scorched and heat. Not so far away that it is too cold, like on Saturn or Uranus. Just the right temperature, just the right amount of heat, just the right amount of fire principle that I have available to me. That is why sun is God. Not just the fire principle is God. Sun is God. The old tribes, they prayed to sun as God because life on earth cannot exist without sun. Before the humans came, remember, there was plantation. We would not exist if there was no photosynthesis, if there were no plantation. No animal kingdom would have come. We are all animals. Plant kingdom would not exist if there was no sunlight, or if there was just not the right amount of sunlight with the right amount of temperature. Photosynthesis is the process of converting the sunlight into energy that the trees can live on. And the animal kingdom, directly or indirectly, depends upon the plant kingdom. The greenery, as a side note, chlorophyll that comes from, that is the product of the process of photosynthesis, is life-giving. It oxygenates the blood. It is good for COVID. Or many different kind of ailments. This is literally life-giving. Chlorophyll is literally life-giving. We're going back to most fundamental, basic connection with the source. Meditation is not a goal that you go out and reach and attain. There's nothing, there's nowhere to go. It's only to go back to my own very basic nature, my very existence is based on. So how do you connect to that source energy? Yeah. In one way, this sound of Om is one way we can experience it, because we don't know what that energy was. That's why it's called that. So hum, breathe in, so breathe out, hum. That I am. That is a source energy. So the Soham mantra is one way to connect with that source energy. And experiencing, feeling, chanting Om is another way. No, you don't have to become Hindu. This is vibration. This is vibration. Being aware of my breath, a deliberate way, in a very deliberate way, breathing deeply in and breathing out deliberately, easily, comfortably, but fully. That this is my life force right there, my prana shakti riding on my breath, and this air principle, the divine principle I'm ingesting, a sense of gratitude as a result of it, and sense of awe and wonder at this constant companionship, this most intimate relationship with divinity. All of us have this most intimate relationship with divinity through our own life force, through our own life breath, through the air principle, 21,600 times a day. This is our namasmarna. This is the chanting of the name. So, Hamsa Gayatri. Doing Soham or practicing Soham for a short period of time, just a few minutes, up to 5 minutes gives you concentration. The distractions of the mind stop. Just a few minutes of doing Soham. Any meditation practice can be started with just Soham breathing. Soham also grounds you. So coming out of a meditative experience with deep Soham breathing, even if for a few seconds, brings you back into your body, experiencing this breath. The breath is the bridge. Breath is the bridge. The life principle on this earth and the source energy. Simple yet powerful. Who am I? That I am. That is the ultimate, most basic, most fundamental truth. Not only about me, not only about all human beings. It's the most fundamental truth about this entire creation. The entire creation came from the source energy, and feeling oneness with that, the entire creation, feeling oneness with myself, and feeling oneness with the source energy, it's meditation. And one can do that just by being present, just by being present, just by being myself. I don't have to do anything other than just being myself. Here and now, just being fully present. Deepening the breath. So deep, so I'm breathing. That topping it off with one of the most powerful affirmation or mantra there is. I love me. I love me. I just love me. I love me. Say it out loud. Affirm it. Affirm this most genuine love. It may sound a little odd or difficult in the beginning. Say it anyway. You'll start loving it. I love me. Stretch like a cat or a dog coming out of sleep to present time, place, and location. Remind yourself of that. Take a look at the watch. Whatever the time is, whatever the date is, whatever the location is, and welcome back to here and now.